This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
Here at Exxon, we hate the world. We've crunched the numbers and know the hotter the earth gets, the more money we make. Wind and solar? Nice try, hippie. Climate chaos? Not a problem. For us. We're designing elevated mansions, deep water boarding schools, and domed shopping malls on the moon. Want to stop us? We'd like to see you try. ExxonHates.com.
By the millions, people in the other America find themselves perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
Kryptonite.
About 8 pounds. I'm gonna struggle for me. But I will not stop until we get answers. Damien did not deserve this. He's 2 blocks from a hospital and he should have been attended to at least stabilized. Not just him, our mothers, fathers, sister, brother, everybody that lost somebody needs some help. We need a trauma center. We need a trauma center now. And I'm sick and tired of waiting. $700 million research center. Like, can we get in it? Can we get in on that? Can we fit in a trauma center for our community for what we need? That's right. That's right.
Two teenagers had to fly with caskets as other protesters offered prayers for those who died for lack of a close-by trauma center. Protest leader Jasmine Harris said a tragedy just last month showed the need for a U of C trauma center.
The firemen who just had a giant fire when the roof collapsed on them, they were taken to Christ and Northwestern. But why, when they was only 3 miles away from UFC, they were taken 12 miles away, 10 miles away? Why come they being brought to the UFC?
Besides music, man, let me tell you what I listen to. Gunshots on the block and news, people doing interviews. Ambulance, fire trucks, hella petty ragged sirens, gun room, spare rooms. It's more than just our youth that's dying. Cocky ass money makers, they forever criticize. They subtracting all the help and pointless things are multiplying. They funding this, they funding that, but where that trauma center track, angry face, baseball.
sinners cause the youth still dying. How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore, man, we dying at the door? F-L-Y, man, we're so fly. R.I.P. Mojo, why you have to die? F-L-Y, man, we're still flying. No trauma centers cause the youth still dying. Damn, trauma centers on the Grove now, but all I see is you in the ground now. I'm trying to tell you that we need that like right now. And D.O.G. behind the movement like bike now. We're fly, so I know they gon' ride. Fact, ain't no trauma centers on the south side. 911, they don't care about emergencies. Why the youth still dead? Hospital surgeries. After this, I swear they gon' hurt of me. But Mojo gone, I swear it keep hurting me. And all I think about is trying to change the future. But they don't hear us, so they just mute us. F-L-Y, man, we're so fly. R.I.P. Mojo, why you had to die? F-L-Y, man, we're still flying. No trauma centers cause the youth still dying. How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore when we dying at the door? How can they ignore when we dying at the door? C-H-I-C-A-G-O, where felons come and babies go. Every night a different death, just listen to your radio or turn on your TVs. Ambulance, beep, beep, ain't nothing promised but a grave. 6 feet deep, man, we try and make life possible. But how is that when we dying by the hospital? They always tell us if you dream, there's no stopping you. We need school, a pastor and a doctor too. UFC say they care, but they really don't. All they want is they candy like Willy Wonka. People get shot every day like LeBron Duncan, but they just playing with our lives like we all Tonka. We need food for the homeless, a lot of dinners. We need a place for the wounded, trauma centers. UFC is last, bring them centers back. How can they ignore that we dying by the door?
Veronica Moore of Fearless Leading by the Youth, or FLY, helped organize the protest.
There's multiple youth who are dying right near this hospital, and there's nothing that they are doing about it to help.
One of those young people was 18-year-old Damian Turner, who was hit in a drive-by shooting in August just blocks from the UFC Med Center. He was taken by ambulance to Northwestern Memorial, where he died.
It should be on a broader campaign because not having a trauma center in one of the most violent neighborhoods in our city says a lot about our country. It says a lot about the state of healthcare, which is always in constant debate. So if we can't get proper healthcare, we can't be saved 4 minutes away from one of the most prestigious hospitals in our country, then that means that the state of our healthcare is very, 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 very bad, poor state.
All God's children needing all help, all jobs, all possibility of living as human beings and not as animals. O thou who art the one who died upon the cross between two thieves in order to show us that we will find our companions wherever there are those who are suffering, like Brother Damien, shot down by senseless violence, but killed by malicious, money-loving vampires. O thou who art the power of the universe enfleshed in us, give us the courage to remain firm in the conviction that we want a trauma center, we want health care, but most of all, we want a whole new world, a beloved community where we treat each other as fellow workers, united at last in the transformation of the world, so we will no longer have to beg for the basics of life.
Jill Stein. You're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Abdul Wasid, 17 years old, we remember you.
Say her name. Kendra Chapman, 18 years old.
Nur Syed, 8 years old, we remember you.
Say her name. Yvette Henderson, 38 years old.
Wajid Noor, 9 years old, we remember you.
Say her name. Mayana Jones, 7 years old.
Syed Wali Shah, 7 years old, we remember you.
Say her name. Tarika Wilson, 26 years old. We remember you.
Aisha, 3 years old, we remember you. Salman, 12 years old, we remember you. Fasal Wahab, 18 years old, we remember you. Fasal Hakim, 19 years old, we remember you. Taisha Miller, 19 years old, we remember you. Kari Ishak, 19 years old, we remember you. Ba'acha Rahman, 13 years old, we remember you. Yvette Smith, 42 years old, we remember you. Wali ur Rahman, 17 years old, we remember you. Edullah, 17 years old, we remember you. Kendra Chapman, 18 years old, we remember you. Abdul Waris, 16 years old, we remember you.
This is Dan Lin from the Illinois chapter of Normal, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Well, hi, this is Tom Tresser from the TIF Illumination Project. We are a citizen-powered investigation team that's been looking at, amongst other things, tax increment financing over the last 3 years. Truth about tax increment financing, which are districts set up by the city supposedly to spur economic development, but really what it is has created a giant slush fund that was first controlled by Mayor Daley and is now controlled by Mayor Emanuel. In 2014, Chicago's 150 TIF districts sucked out about $425 million. So it's almost $1 billion in property taxes that go missing every 2 years. At the end of last year, on the first of the year of 2015, from all the TIF funds, there was $1.44 billion sitting in the TIF accounts. So that is the number that everybody agrees is true, including the mayor himself. But what we're trying to do now is to get an accounting of that money for the citizens of Chicago to show them that this money is either completely handcuffed and cannot be used for anything that we would like it to be used for, or is it sitting there just waiting to be more slush. And until we get, I think, a very good, simple accounting that any person with modest intelligence can pick up and read and review and feel satisfied with, until that happens, no property tax hike for us. Thank you very much. The frame that we are broke is not a new frame. It is a modern, urban, shall we say, neoliberal construct that says when it comes to the public sector and the things that the public needs, public education, public housing, public transit, public parks, public health, anything with the word public in front of it, we don't have anything for that. We're really, our cupboard is bare. But when it comes to the private sector, like showering money on private developers or bailing out Wall Street, then the cupboard is full. And we can't serve the money fast enough to those interests. The story behind the story is that we're facing a massive strip mining of public assets for private benefit. We're not broke. Not only is the TIF story part of that narrative, but there's also money that we've lost through corruption and money that we shouldn't be spending for crappy deals like the toxic debt swap that the Chicago public schools have gotten us into, that have spent $1 billion in fees to banks that they shouldn't have gotten. That's $1 billion just from that one program. Now, if you want to throw in the prosecution and restitution for the John Burge torture cases, you're up to about another $50 million, and the list goes on. So that's the pot of money called money that we threw away, money that was stolen from us. The TIF money is in the pot called money they're hiding from us. And I would put another pot on the table, and that is money that we're not even collecting. And that's where we get into a progressive income tax for the state of Illinois, a financial transaction tax on LaSalle Street, and a public bank for the city of Chicago. You put all those three pots together, and I reckon we've got about $5 billion in money that would be coming to the city of Chicago.
Justice for the rich and white! This isn't anything new about James Kappelman. He actually, when we were trying to organize a program, which we organized, a program to give toys to children who live in the homeless shelter, he sent a letter to CAPS saying that he was opposed to that because it would encourage homelessness.
At one time in my life, I needed to be fed by shelters like this in LA when I was between jobs and food stamps had run out. Without that, I might have starved to death.
Yes, well, there's quite a history here. Alderman Kappelman has not only asked the Salvation Army truck to leave the neighborhood, on top of that he said, oh, no, but they should go elsewhere for food. Only the problem with that was that he couldn't name any places that they should go, and he didn't say anything about replacing the volume from the Salvation Army truck with a grant. And on top of that, he also closed 2 low-run hotels. Granted, they had some code violations, but it beats sleeping in this. I mean, look what we're standing in. He's going after yet another building.
And or arrested, depending if you leave at that time.
Okay, officer, can I ask under what ordinance they would be arrested? We would be arrested?
Be cited for park after hours.
Park after hours, okay. This is the park here, officer.
It is the park, correct.
Yes. This is a public right-of-way. This is not Parks Department property. I'm sure you know that in the state of Illinois, that every public roadway has got a public right-of-way, typically defined as the edge of the sidewalk to the street. So we're going to be exercising our First Amendment right to peacefully protest, allow people to go by here, but we are not going to be on Parks Department property.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
One for the homeless. Yeah.
If I was a man, I would shove my tongue down your throats.
Exactly. Where's the sidewalk? Power to the people.
Hey.
Photographing you in your public performance of your duties.
Thank you.
Out to join my homeless friends in this protest because the city of Chicago and the Park District and the aldermen over here have been harassing and displacing the homeless people. I'm out here today to fight and make a stand and make some noise and to show support and love and hope that we can bring awareness to all the misfortune that the homeless people are going through by people with authorities.
Okay.
Just being LGBT, we work, he knows the fight, the battle that we go through as a family to have our rights. So to take homeless people's rights away from them, it kind of hits home. I mean, we fight for equalness. How are you taking another person's equalness away from them?
I'm embarrassed by Kappelman and as well as a lot of the other LGBT aldermen. I think they're all about money. I don't think they care about the homeless or homeless youth, which are disproportionately LGBT because people get rejected by their families and they're living out in the streets, and their aldermen aren't looking out for them. And you know, Kappelman, he wonders why people are sleeping out in the park, and he's wondering why people are sleeping in their viaducts after he shut down over 1,000 units of low-cost housing, after he shut down more, after he played an active part in their closing, and he complains about people sleeping outside. It's just ridiculous. And it should also be said that he got over $100,000 for his re-election from real estate interests, from real estate banking firms, from developers, from real estate agents, and he has a real economic interest in pushing these people out. He has a monetary interest, his donors have a monetary interest of making this an exclusive, high-end, upper-income neighborhood where everybody else is pushed out and kept out.
Step back, okay?
Just ask what the charge is.
There's no charge here.
There's no charge.
No. You're just asking to take the tent down, which is a city ordinance. We always talk about that. You can stay in the park till 11 o'clock. What are you talking about? Okay. There's no badging or show badging. We just appreciate your cooperation, right? All we're doing is having. Can you like put that on my face? Yo, I don't want it in my face. I'm not trying to be difficult here.
You guys have a real slow day.
It's not that we're having a slow day.
Have a nice evening.
We'll be over here. Just make sure please take down the tent, okay?
Do the police understand that the
man. We're just doing our, I know. We're not
Why don't you go harass our alderman, okay? Why don't you go harass him? He throws our medical records in the garbage. He throws our medication in the garbage. And now you already gave the badge.
Officer, we gave it to the individual there.
He
has everything he needs.
He has everything he needs, sir. The only thing we need is some compassion.
But mainly the SROs, a lot of them had been been neglected by the owners. You know, I know one building in particular, somebody was telling me about how the owner was in Florida, you know, and was just basically letting the building, you know, go to rot, you know. What I'm trying to say is an absentee landlord, you know, to be more specific. And so the building is going up in value because the area is gentrifying, but they're not going to do anything to keep the building up or to keep it as a rent subsidized building for the tenants who really need to stay in that area, who've been in that area from the 90s, the 80s to whenever. People who make the community the diverse community that Uptown is. So, you know, what they've done now is just kick the people out and redevelop these buildings where they're gentrifying and pushing people out and rendering people homeless. They don't want to see people homeless because they want to live in a fantasy that, you know, we've done everything right and you've done everything wrong, and we don't no longer need to have any concern about you. You know, it's about us and what we want to do.
Right,
we want to see clean.
Obviously, you don't want to be a part of society because you failed society. No, society has failed us.
Right. Once you criminalize either via mass incarceration or just outright being made homeless by losing your home or losing your housing subsidy, like Carmilla did, then you're open season to be criminalized. You know, if you know, that's why they tried to pass all these crazy laws. We don't want you feeding the homeless. You can't be sleeping in the park. All these businesses are vigilant against people sleeping at nodding off after having a cup of coffee. You know, people are not really addressing the human factor, and that's one of the things that people need to be more humane, more understanding about the situation.
Compassion.
Right.
Can we get some love? We just want a hand up. We don't need a hand down.